I was born at home October 10th, 1927. And that would be on, at that time it was like Route 2, Black Creek, Wisconsin, in Outagamie County. I lived then at that home until I went away to work.
So that makes you 96 now, right?
96, right.
19. Where did you grow up?
I grew up right there at Sutter, and I went to Sutter Valley School. It was 8th grade, no kindergarten. We started right away at first grade, and I walked to school to...
Sure. So where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at Shiocta. My first year I had to walk, and I met the bus at my Sutter Valley School.
Oh, gotcha.
But the next year, they made the routes bigger, and I got picked up. After that, a bus picked me up my other 3 years. I liked my early life. It was so free because everybody was happy. Everybody helped one another. When my dad got those, when us kids brought the mumps home from school, and my father got them, he was very sick. He was sick for a long time. So it was so good that they came out with, for kids, us kids, a couple days we were bouncing around. It took a toll on my dad, though.
Yeah.
All that summer. I do think people nowadays, like I feel, they feel the same way again like I did. We're all in the same boat.
Right.
We all have to put up with Biden. Yeah,
so when you were born, you didn't have electricity in your house, right?
Mm.
So how old were you when you got electricity?
Oh, gosh. It was just. We got it. We got it in one thing first. Then we got it in the barn for the milkers, you know.
Oh, sure.
Trying when we didn't have to go out and milk cows no more.
Would you have been in high school, do you think?
For the completion, because we kind of remodeled our kitchen, and water in the bathroom. It was just when I started high school, or between 9th and 10th grade.
Sure. So you didn't have running water until you got electricity too?
No. We had water outside. Drinking water we had to get.
You had like a hand pump?
That we had to do, but we would get it. We'd go into our little milk house.
Sure.
And get it with the pump there.
Gotcha.
Really was my mother. Mother was the one that was stripped.
Yeah.
Because I know my dad would have went out and got it. But no, if you forgot, that's responsibility.
Right. Yeah. I guess what was the highlight from your time in school? So if you had one highlight, what would it be?
In grade school?
Just in school, like grade school, high school.
Oh, I just like school.
Yeah.
I like school. I like my teachers. There were some I didn't always like as well, but none that I hated.
Sure.
Or didn't like at all. I just like being with people.
Right.
Being with my friends. You know, I missed it during the summer. We'd get together once in a while. They'd come and I'd go to their house. And later on, when we got older in high school, then if there was a dance or something, some kind of play or something at one place, and it happened to be at my house, in my hometown, like 12 Corners, the dance was. My friend that lived at Nichols or Navarino, I'd invite them to come to my house. And then my dad and mom would take us to the dance and things. And so you knew everybody. You knew everybody in that school.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors. And everybody was nice to one another.
Yeah.
Once in a while, the seniors would have some kind of a day that they'd pick on the down kid. Whoa, I thought, just wait till I get to be a senior. Oh, I will too, you know, and stuff. School was fun for me, Brian.
Yeah.
I wasn't an A student. I'd say I'd say a B student. I was good in some stuff and not so good in some others. But if I was an honor roll student, I can't say I ever was.
Sure.
You know, but I made it.
Yeah, weren't you the homecoming queen?
Yeah, but I had to be picked.
Yeah.
Little Wayne Thede. I'll never forget the night he came. I was just shocked. It was one Saturday night. It was early. About somebody was knocking on our door, and it was Wayne Thede. He was such a nice fellow. He was the king.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Can
was
you describe your parents?
my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes my dad was, I think my dad was, he was the baby of the family, the last born, and he was not as responsible as maybe. He was very easy to get along with, but I feel once in a while, for us children, he would spoil us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He was not a man that hit or yelled, but he should have been sometimes. But see, he never had boys. He had always just the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was smart. My mother was responsible. She taught us right from wrong. Well, so did my dad. But my dad once in a while wasn't always responsible. Because once in a while he'd go down, he wouldn't down to get something down at the take stuff down. He didn't always come home when should have. And once in a while he would be drinking, and he should have been home doing his work. Was talented in so many ways. He taught himself to play the violin, a very delicate instrument, and a clarinet himself.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to learn to do the guitar, so did my sister, Doris. Them two took lessons on the guitar. So many. My dad loved hunting, so did Doris. I was no hunter, neither was Vernis. So them two, my dad was an excellent skater on ice.
Oh, yeah.
Or roller skates. That's how he met my mother.
Yeah.
And ice skating. My sister Doris loved ice skating too. I never got good at it. And mine, what a dumb middle name. Alberta. But it makes sense. My dad's name was Elber, and my godmother was my grandma. Her name was Bertha. So that's how come I got to be Alberta.
How would you describe your siblings?
Nice. Aunt Doris and I got along better because we were brought up together before Vernis.
Sure.
You know. See, after a while I went to live with her in Appleton. Aunt BC she was more protected, I think, because she was the baby. And see, Aunt Doris went away to live with her real grandma. First semester in college.
Okay.
Aunt Doris was smart. She was a good student. But when she came home for that vacation, she didn't want to go back. See, and that's where our family got kind of mixed up. See, Grandma Kolb, Doris's real grandma, and her children would come to the farm. And some of Grandma Kolb's other children's children came and stayed, sometimes for several weeks at the farm. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine my father, my grandma was there, and Grandma Kolb would come too. It was a mixed up thing. But Grandma Kolb always kept up with Aunt Doris, and they would send all of their older women's clothes. They would send to us, and that's where my mom and my grandma would make us kids out of their clothes.
Okay.
We were friends with them.
All right.
You can't picture it, but it happened. BC, she was kind of spoiled more. Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah, the young ones always are.
yeah. But we always got along, always, She had her little dog. She played that with that. It was a cute little dog. We always had dogs and cats. That we did. But we all had to help. We all had to work. That we did. I had to pick up stones. I had to pick up potatoes. I had to dust cabbage. I had to, and so did she. See, Aunt Doris, after she was 16, she had to work.
So how old were you when you got married?
How old was I?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't 21. The day I got married, I was still 20. I was 21 in October, but on October 20th. It was so odd because I really didn't know Gordy. I really wasn't ready to get married yet. But he was. He was home from the army. He spent like 2 years in Germany, 2 years here. So he spent 4 years away from home. And everybody started coming home and meeting their girlfriends. I didn't know him when he went into service. I met him with my mom and dad at a bar in Manassas. And my father was, we went for a ride, my mom and dad. I was home for that weekend. I'd always go home and help my mom and dad on my days off. And it was my weekend off at the telephone company, and we went for a ride. And my dad said, I'll show you where I used to play my little orchestra.
Oh, sure.
The little places that we played at here. And so we did. And my gosh, of all people, who should come in with Gordy and his two buddies? And he said, and that's how we met. I knew his brother, Bob. I knew because he came to our house to practice with my dad because he played the cornet or the trumpet, when they needed, and them kids were in high school. After a while, Gordy played too, but I didn't know him then. And they put some money in the jukebox, and he came over. Well, Pat Real. See, my dad's nickname was Pat.
Okay.
And that's why he named his orchestra Pat and his Hot Shots. And he said, well, this is my daughter Germaine, And so when the music was going, he came back and he said, hey, do you want to dance? Because he liked to dance, I liked to dance. And we did. And he said, hey, how would you like to go out? He asked me for a date. So he must have been desperate, And turned out really, because he was home working for Bertie's funeral home. And trying to get his cases so he could go to mortuary school in Milwaukee. And that's how we met, and that was during the winter. And we were married in June. I didn't know him long.
Yeah.
But he told me that. I like to do things fast. And we got married in June 21st, 1947.
So what was your guys' first date? What did you do on your first date?
Actually, it was bowling.
Bowling?
But what he wanted to do to come earlier, because he wanted, that was the first time he had to do a face, do a body all himself, because, I guess, because Don Birdie, he wanted to do something. See, Mr. Birdie, yeah, different, but his son never did want to be an undertaker, but he had to be, you know. So evidently he had something, and the only problem is he had to help him finish this body, so he couldn't come to meet me at the telephone company. So who did they do? He sent his mom and dad.
Okay.
His mom and dad is the one that picked me up.
That's
And
an
then
interesting story.
they wanted to stop at the cemetery. And I said, oh, I like going to the cemetery. My mom and dad and my grandma, we always went, we go to the cemeteries and fix the graves. So that wasn't okay. It was so odd with Grandpa though. On the way, they acted as if they knew me already forever. Because on the way going to Black Creek, Grandpa Kaphingst said to me, my name is Louie, and this is Lil. Oh, okay. You know,
So that was his parents.
and stuff. I can handle that.
Yeah.
So, he had his dad take me to his house, and Grandma made supper. We had tomato soup and like sandwiches, and then Gordon came and he said to get ready to go bowling, but he said, I want you to see my body. To see how good I did.
Yeah. Oh goodness, how romantic.
Okay, that was what an interesting evening.
Right.
I met his mom and dad. I got told what to call him. I ate supper, and you know, he always loved tomato soup. And I got supper there, and then we went bowling. And so I watched him bowl.
Yeah.
It was good, though. He was
Yeah.
a good bowler. Well, his whole team was,
Mhm.
you know. And so who should be there? Orlo, John, his buddies.
Oh, sure.
But he found out, I think I married somebody that's a good worker.
First house was the yellow house, and that was in Black Creek.
Now I was, yeah, right downtown. But I managed.
Okay. What advice would you give a newlywed or to like grandkids when they get married? Or like great grandkids? Best marriage advice.
Well, I don't know. What would I tell a girl? I'll tell you. I just found a letter my mother wrote to me a couple of months before I got married.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I put it away, and then one day I wanted to look for it and I could not find it, thinking where would Pastor Dan came, and we got to talking about a lot of stuff, which I did with any pastor.
Uh-huh.
And you got a letter here that says 1947.
Oh, jeez. Found it.
Lost has been found. And see, and I said, let's read it. Because I let your mom and Sheila read it the other day
Oh, sure.
when they were here. My mother had the knowledge for words,
Mm-hmm.
and her writing always was so beautiful. And she said she hoped that Gordon would love me, be kind, and humble himself to for she just said, and that I would say kind of the same. You would want him to love you, really love you, and also have faith and the grace of God. Because with that, that's what Jesus taught. If you can remember what Jesus taught, he taught people to be humble, to be joyous. We weren't supposed to be just deadheads.
Mm-hmm.
To be joyous. He taught us to be kind. He taught us not to be selfish. You would not want a husband that says he's always right either.
Right.
Gordy don't say too much when he knows he's wrong, and I'm right.
Right.
We never got in. I said our arguments mostly was about the kids,
Yeah.
about the school, and because so often he did take the kids' part, the teacher's part, until I proved him a couple times that he was wrong.
Out of all the decades that you've been alive, which decade was your favorite and why? So favorite decade.
I don't know where I didn't have a killer in the world yet. I think my high school days.
Yeah.
See, I didn't have to worry. My mom and dad had to worry.
Right.
Once I got out of school, I was on my own. I had to start thinking. And I said, they were fun years. My girlfriend and I, when I lived at their house, when we both worked for the telephone company. Well, so did my girlfriend from high school. See, she worked she was my dearest friend. She went to the nursing home too. She died shortly after I came out of it, that one nursing home. She was fun, oh Lord. Had a good time when you went with that Irishman. And, but those young days, do some things maybe sometimes we shouldn't have been doing.
Well, let's hear it. Let's hear the crazy story.
I think have to worry. I didn't have to be with responsibility. Once you got married, then came this responsibility.
Yeah.
Up until that time, say, high school, when the first years of marriage, when we were running to weddings, we went to one wedding after everybody was coming home and getting married. That was really good years. Well, I say I shouldn't complain. I went through bad with my dad and mom's generation. We had tough going. Got out of that. But I got to see what it was and how it must have been for them. How they must have laid awake at night and was wondering how we're going to get those taxes paid.
Right.
And you know, if it wasn't for my grandma, we'd have probably lost our farm too. Because we only had a 60-acre farm.
Right.
Because so many lost their farms because they couldn't pay their taxes. But see, my grandma lived with us, and she wouldn't, see, we had to pay her so much. My dad and mom had to pay her so much a year.
Oh, sure.
And a home the rest of her life. That was in the will.
Sure.
But my dad would get the farm, you know. Next question.
So what would you say was the most significant event that's happened in your life?
Well, it wasn't for me, but it sure was for a lot of people. I guess it was the day that the war was over but actually I would say the World War II probably affected me and everybody else, my generation, World War II, because we were just in that age. When we were coming out of high school, looking for a job, and women start doing men's work. So that, I think World War II
World War II?
would be a big thing. Because life changed. Women's life changed. Because some husbands were gone. Women, we had children. I didn't, but people that. So they had to go to work. Jobs was plentiful for women. They were working in the factories. Men was being drafted. Mm-hmm. And when you're drafted, you're drafted. You go. You got kids or not. that must have been terrible for a lot of them. Well, see, I wasn't in that era.
Right.
I was in high school. I saw, and so many, when they graduate, that graduating class, what did they do? They joined the service. Some joined the Air Force, some joined, instead of going out on to college.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them, that's what they did. And so they didn't go to work. They went to war. Mm-hmm. And some of those that was seniors, when I was a freshman, some of them got killed. You know.
So maybe that ties in with the next question. So what would be the saddest moment of your life, or saddest time in your life?
Well, I wasn't prepared for when Dad was taken so fast. Nobody, of course, the baby was sad too. I often think she looked just like Jeannie,
Yeah.
only she had more hair. They were all really cute babies. They all had hair, except Jeannie had hair, but it stuck up, just like a little porcupine. Her first year, I kept a little bonnet on her a lot, with her little peacock hair. I know. But I'll say what Grandma Kaphingst said when Reverend Wood asked her, "What do you feel you're missing in life?" And she said, "I think God cheated me a little bit with my grandchildren."
Yeah.
And she never knew it was only Gary and Jeannie, you know, and the baby. She never knew the rest. And I'm sure she was so good. But see, they lived right next door.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the only two she really seen,
Sure.
was Jeannie and Gary.
So I guess we can transition a little bit out of that, but what would you say is the best part of raising kids?
Your best,
So like the best part of raising kids. Like just maybe talk a little bit about raising
raising
5
children. With raising children, you got to start right away. With Dad said, there's only one way to do things. The right way, the wrong way. When you grow up, figuring out which way you want to go. And the other thing he said too, but the kids would have to get after them a little, and he'd say, "This is my home. You just live here." And that door swings both ways. Swings in and it swings out. And if it swings out, you're out. Just remember, swings in too. Again. That's what he told them.
Yeah.
And I heard it.
Oh, I guess as far as kids, like, what's your favorite Kathy memory?
What did he say?
Like your favorite Kathy memory?
Think of Kathy.
Yeah, like what's your?
Oh, she's such a little pushover.
Yeah.
If you notice, Uncle Gary, he wants to be friends with everybody. I mean, Jeannie is a leader. Sheila is a leader. And those leaders are tough. And they are tough. And they're very good. Poor Sheila. Poor Sheila. Yeah, Sheila. She always had to go and help him clean. Okay, Gary, when he moved in that apartment, who had to go and help him clean? Sheila. Clean. But anyway, yeah. But Jeannie was a worker. I can see myself in Jeannie so much, Brian.
Yeah.
Work. I'm a worker yet, or I wouldn't be doing my own laundry.
Right.
I'm a,
Yeah, my ma's that way too. She's a hard worker
Yeah.
too.
you gotta watch for her a little bit, because the only thing I get a little angry with her, you like your hair. She's always playing with it. Don't do that. That's the only hair you're going to get there. You got to take care. I learned that from my mother, who would come in from the barn, from milking, and before supper, she would go into the bathroom, wash up, comb her hair, and stuff. Nice. If you ever remember Grandma, her hair was always nice. Lots of it. And she took care of herself. That was just in her. Maybe it was a cheap cream, but she put it on.
Sure.
That's what I told Kathy. Watch for the sun. My mom always had a cap, a brim cap on. And so the sun wouldn't hit her hair. You got, and you have to take care of yourself.
What are you most proud of in your life?
What I'm proud of? I'm proud of myself when I came out good with the gas cleanup. I'm proud of myself. I've done the figures. I kept up with the figures. Once I got to know how they can scan you, people could have taken me. See, I spent $10,000. I wouldn't have to pay that. I was so happy that that man told me what I could do, what I should have not have done. But I didn't know about this man. But the guy that took the company from Nina did, they don't want you to know about him. Sometimes to go back, I'm sorry I didn't tough it out like Ann Peel did. Even with her problems, that I didn't go more when I was in my 80s. I had that little yearning getting up at night then already. And I wished I went on these little weekend trips or these 4 or 5 day trips. And Peel did. She hired a lady nurse to help her go on these trips. She wasn't going to miss them. She broke her hip. And of course, at her age, they weren't going to do much. So she was kind of with a cane, and if they were going to do a lot of walking, the nurse would put her in a wheelchair. She went on the bus. She didn't give it up. And the best part of it was, I almost flipped. And when Aunt Doris came up by herself, and she had never been to, not Cuba, it's by Cuba though. It's still in the United States. We went over the big bridge and then it wasn't Mackinac Island though.
Oh, in the UP?
Yeah, it wasn't, it was but it was in the United States. And Doris had not ever been there. So she and I went, when she came up. And coming out of that elevator, of all people here, is Ann Peel, my old neighbor from Black Creek, with this nurse. I don't know if she was a nurse practitioner, or maybe she was a help, just a care helper. But that's what she said. I haven't been there yet, and she was going to go.
Yeah.
So I thought, why didn't I do that? I had the money to do it. So did she. But I don't know why I didn't.
Gotcha.
I'm still here, and I guess I did miss it
Yeah.
too much. I've been around lots of places other people's never been. So don't be selfish. You don't have to be everywhere.
Yeah. I guess, okay, my last question is, what would you want people to remember about you?
What you should, oh, Brian. I want you to remember me as a good grandma that got you out of little troubles when I came. No, I want you to think how proud I was of you to do what you did on your own. You have to want to do what you're doing enough that you made it happen. Our little talks are one-on-one to this day. I love the one-on-one. I don't care who it is I'm with. The one-on-one is so nice to have. I had it with Kyle already. You know, he's a little sweetheart.
Well, I enjoyed our time together too.
Well, Brian is, maybe I forgive too quickly, but I cannot, because I can't handle it otherwise. I don't want people hating me.
That's how I am too. I'm quick to forgive too.
Everybody, nobody does.
Yeah.
I read a lot in Colossians. That's one that'll be nice and kind and forgiving. I got such a forgiving heart, and it goes deep. It's just not a little thin forgive.
Oh, I know, and that's how I am too, you know.
I feel forgiveness is right now. I just.
Is there anything else that you wanna add? Did I miss anything? I mean, is there? I mean, you know.
I always said, for a living, I lived as long as my mother. She died at 96. Will I make 97? I don't know. All I want to tell you, I had good years. I had wonderful years. I had bad years. I had sad years. And of course, I wish that everybody will love to forgive, forget, start over. How many times did you do it as a kid? One person that could hold a grudge for a long time. Now that was a darn one. She was a little stinker like that. She'd get mad at you. Sometimes she didn't talk to my mother for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
She'd be mad at my mom. See? Well, like Gordy says, that's because you couldn't keep it. I'm no different, I suppose. You can't keep quiet. You can't stand quiet. But I have to say, God has blessed me well. He's let me see my grandkids, all my grandkids. That's my one wish, that I go before any of my children or grandchildren. I couldn't do that for poor Janet. But now I would like to go by her a while.
I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. I'll be home for Christmas, if